Tim Fluckey. I'm the singer guitar player of the band Adema, and we're going to be coming to Australia next month to do a little tour with El Nino.
That you are indeed. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey,
So, as you say, bro, Adema hit Australia for the first time ever this September for 3 shows with El Nino, starting in Sydney on September the 12th, then hitting Melbourne and Brisbane over consecutive days. So, she's not long to go now, bro. You're packed and ready to go?
no,
No.
no, I'm not. No, actually, we're excited, that's for sure. But packed and ready for me takes about 4.5 minutes, and right now we're just finishing up. We're trying to finish up our record right now. We recorded all the songs were written. We recorded drums and bass and some guitars, and so I'm gonna record some more guitars tomorrow, and then do some vocals, and then we'll probably get it done when we get back from Australia.
Nice. And I guess the big question is, mate, like this is your first ever trip to Australia. So, how and why the hell have you neglected us for so long, brother?
Well, it's not on you guys. It's funny. We had a tour that we were going to do in Australia maybe 23 years ago. And then something else came up that we had to do that was, I can't remember what it was, but we always thought like, oh, we'll just reschedule or we'll find a way to get back to Australia in the next couple of months. And it just never happened. And so we've always wanted to go there and couldn't be more excited about finally getting over there.
You guys have toured pretty much all over the world, mate. So, when you go to a country for the first time like Australia, do you do your research? Like, do you talk to people that have been here before and find out what to expect, or do you just come in cold and see what it delivers?
I might talk to some people, but a lot, especially with access to information. I've been looking at some stuff. I'm the tourist of the band, so I like to see stuff, and so I'm gonna want to, even though we have limited time, I'm gonna want to walk around and kind of know where I want to go beforehand and see where we're playing and see what's around there and try to take in as much as I can. And then obviously we'd love to have a good experience this time so we can come back many more times and more often.
Yeah. So, what are you actually expecting from Australian crowds, mate? We're pretty crazy on this side of the world.
I've been hearing that's exciting to me. I like crazy. So yeah, we're excited about that. That's why we're concentrating on playing. Since our first time, we want to concentrate on playing all the songs that hopefully everybody knows and off our first few albums, and have a good set where people can show their energy and feel our energy. And so yeah, we're excited to. Like I said, I've been hearing about the fans over there, so I'm excited to see what's up.
Well, and the flip side of that, mate, is that we got no idea what to expect from you either. So, run us through a typical Adema live show.
We like to, like I said, we like to play all the songs that we hopefully people know from our history and stuff, and then we like to keep it. We like to keep the energy involved. You know what I mean? We don't. We might have one song that's kind of a mid-tempo thing, but we like to keep the energy up, and then we have a lot of fun on stage. And now that I've been singing again for like the last year or so, I like to have a lot of fun. I like to talk to the crowd and have a good time with the crowd. So. Just a high energy kind of experience. And then also afterwards, we love coming out after the show's over and talking with as many fans as we can and meeting as many people as we can and answering questions and taking pics or just hanging out.
Yeah, nice. Now, how much thought actually goes into choosing the right bands to tour with? Like, I know back in the day, you'd just take your mates along or a band that looked like they'd be fun, but these days in the modern age of music, you've got to actually look at a lot of different things, don't you?
I mean, it's still the same though. I mean, like a lot of the bands we play with now, or the bands we played with back then, like we just did a tour with Spine Shank and Union Underground, and we had never toured Union Underground, but we'd always been fans. And then Spine Shank, we had toured like 20 years ago with them, and so it's just kind of whatever you. It's kind of like one of those things where you just use your instinct when you hear like, hey, those guys want to do a tour with you, if you immediately say to yourself, yeah. That would be awesome. Let's do that. Like, we did a couple of shows with Snot last year. That was cool. We were we were definitely honored that they wanted us to do a couple of shows with them with their big reunion. And so, and then we'll tour with bands like Head PE that are just our music is probably not that similar, but we just love hanging out and the people, people are pretty diverse what they listen to. So, we just love being around those guys and having a good time, or so it's all a lot of different things that go down with it. But yeah, it's mostly does it make sense, and are we going to have fun?
What else could be in it?
Yeah, exactly.
So going back to the start, mate, like Adema started in Bakersfield, California at the turn of the century. So what was the musical climate like that gave birth to the band, and where did you fit in the initial days?
Well, it came from Bakersfield. So Bakersfield, it's not unlike where a lot of metal music was born in kind of like these kind of blue collar kind of working man's industrial. Bakersfield's a big oil town. And so it's, just, and I grew up in I was the only one not from Bakersfield, but I moved there in the mid 90s. And, but I came from a small town of farmers. And so it was just kind of like just having that grit and that kind of attitude in life. And then always being metal fans too. Like, I was a big thrash metal dude. And so, it was just that at that time, you're kind of coming out of the grunge a little bit. And, but we all grew up with so many different musical styles as well. So we were kind of incorporating that. I know that we all can play. I grew up in the '80s, and like I said, I love thrash metal, so I can. Grew up playing guitar solos and love that stuff. At the time, we were like, what can we do that's different? We just wanted to be kind of minimalistic a little bit, and we all love melody, but we all love hard music. So it was just kind of. And it was always this kind of grind, and grinding. I know at the time that I was living, I was doing pretty well, but I was working too much. I was like, I can't do this I came here to be in a band, man. So I just remember then surfing couches and working odd jobs and just kind of like just living in studios, whatever it was. Just we only had our minds on one thing, and that was playing heavy music and all that just came out from that. All that, all of our life experiences coming out in the music.
Yeah, cool. And you started out as a guitarist, but along the way you inherited the role of lead singer. So is that something you'd always wanted to do, or was it more out of necessity?
No, I did not always want to do that. I didn't mind doing backup vocals. That was cool. I liked just being over in my guitar world, but and doing that and being able to jump around and move around and interact with the crowd that way. And then it just came by necessity. One tour, our singer we couldn't find him for days. And then like, we already missed a couple of shows and we're like, are we going to get sued? And so they're like, can you do it? They're like, can you do it? I go, I mean, I'll try, so literally on the way out to the first show, we never rehearsed with me singing. I was just sitting there playing my guitar and trying to sing along this stuff. And we went out there and I was like, the first song, we were like, let's play 3 songs without saying a word and see what happens. We'll see how the crowd reacts. And the first song, people were like confused. And the second song, they were kind of like, it's okay. And then the third song, they were like, this is fine. This works. And so never once did anybody say they wanted their money back, or nobody said it sucked to our faces. And so, it just kind of grew from that. And then Marky did come back for a little while, but then he kind of essentially retired. And then we got offered a tour in 2019, and I was like, well, let's bring somebody in from our genre to sing. And then Ryan came in from Orgy and Julian K, but he had another band, so it was always going to be temporary. So then when it came down to making a decision about moving on, and we were getting offered record deals at the time, so we were like, and they're like, do you want to sing again? I go, yeah, let's do it. We don't need to bring anybody else in here, but the 4 of us have been around each other for 25 years, so we can deal with each other. So I'm sure it's hard for somebody new to come into that situation. Like I said, we're not normal dudes. Our band would be boring if it was. So I know it's probably hard for people to come in and join that and just be around guys who've been around each other for 25 years.
Yeah, true. How was the transition process for you, bro? Like, are you fully settled into it yet, or you still a bit?
I think so. I think the difference between me back then and me doing it now is I'm a little more confident with the crowd. You know what I mean? I just pretty much went to the James Hetfield school of the crowd. You know what I mean? And just kind of not copying him, but just being like, some singers get the tendency of saying the same thing in the same spots every night, and then kind of maybe homogenizing it a little bit. But I'm just one day just said, I'm just going to say whatever the hell comes to my mind. Who cares what the repercussions are? So so I feel a lot more comfortable on stage doing that. And I think people react to that. I think when you're just who you are, people react to that. I don't think everybody doesn't have to agree with what you're saying. And I'm not political, but I'm just saying that, they don't have to like or agree with it, but they can appreciate that you're just being yourself.
Yeah. Now, from my research, and I hope I've got this right, but you haven't actually sung on an album that's been released yet, have you? You've only just done live shows?
There was one where we did an EP. It didn't really get released. That was another story. But so I had done a couple songs, and you can kind of find them on the internet. But they're decent. It's just not really. But Mikey, our original guitar player, who is in the band now, was not on that record. So now this new stuff sounds like Adema. It's the original band. It's everybody from the band, and then, just through kind of, I'm sure, osmosis, there's gonna be parts where I sound like Marky, our original singer, and then I have my own thing too. But it just sounds like Adema now, and so I'm excited about it. The songs are cool, and like I said, I have a little more confidence probably with what my sound is and what kind of singer I want to be.
Yeah. And what can you tell us about the new music, mate? Is it what Adema fans would expect, or have you thrown your own little play?
I think it is. I think obviously it's going to evolve a little bit, but it is not far from our first 2 or 3 records. So, I think Adema fans will be into it. So, like I said, having everybody kind of brings their own kind of special thing to the band that made it sound like Adema back then. I think that's back in the band now. So, and it helped. I had to change the way I kind of wrote music when Mikey was out of the band, and so now to go back to how I originally wanted to do it and how I'm doing it now. Knowing that when I write a part that I can think about, okay, what's he going to do over it? You know what I mean? It's what's Dave going to do on bass, that stuff. What's Chris going to do on drums? So that's exciting for us, and hopefully it's exciting for our fans.
Just to elaborate on that a little bit, mate, because now you are writing with you going to be singing it, not someone else. So has it changed the way you think about writing a song?
Not really. We kind of always do it the same way anyway. We would write the music, and I don't think we ever wrote a song where, I know bands do it, where they write maybe a vocal melody and try to write around that. That's never kind of been our thing. Our thing is kind of write the music and then go in and try to write the best vocal hooks and melodies we can over something. Obviously, you're discerning parts as verse or chorus or bridge or whatever, but at the same time, I don't think there's sometimes when I'll sing a part. The voice memo thing on your phone might be the greatest thing ever for a musician. So I'll sing guitar parts in there, sing drum parts in there, and then come back later and do that, and then maybe get something in my head after writing the music part and start just doing melodies and just go. I have hundreds of the shit. I have to go back. I have to label them all and go, that's the idea for that. Or I'll forget. You know what I mean? And then I'll go back and go, that sucks and that's good, or that, you know what I mean? So that's kind of how it happens. And a lot of it's a bunch of mumbling, and I have to write lyrics later, but yeah.
Yeah, cool. And are you going to be throwing any of those new ones at us while you're over here?
No, we're not. Not that. I mean, we could do some, but it's, a couple of things. We want to concentrate on, the fans in Australia hearing these songs that they've never heard live before. Those older songs that people want to hear. We've gotten some feedback from fans over there of songs they want to hear that we put on, our set lists. And so, and then also it's just, that we don't want to quite release anything new right now. We want to make sure it's all, because things are going to change when we mix them down or whatever. You never know what can happen. So we kind of don't want to play a song and go, oh shit, it completely changed. So yeah.
Yeah, nice. All right, bro. Well, thanks for your time. Adema will be here with El Nino from September the 12th, starting in Sydney. I'll be coming along to the Brisbane show, brother. So best of luck. I'll see you there.
Yeah. Come find me, man. We'll hang out. It'll be fun.